just like, a little of him, a little of me. It's like, hang on a minute. Luen Yang has a spotlight. He is a special guest of Comic-Con International. I am the doofus who is talking to him, interviewing him. But I want to make sure, I don't want to steal your spotlight by having it just be, I don't know.
I have to tell you, this is surreal for me. This is totally surreal for me. Because Scott McCloud is one of those seminal voices in my childhood. And he does. He's the Green Turtle, and he wanted the Green Turtle to be a Chinese American. But his publishers didn't think that a character like that would fly in the marketplace at the time. So Chu Hing, being a cartoonist, reacts in a passive-aggressive way. Because that's how cartoonists deal with adversity. Passive-aggressively. So in these original Green Turtle comics, he draws it so that we never see the hero's face. The hero almost always has his back turned towards the reader, and then when he is turned around, something is blocking his face. Like another character standing right here, or like it's a shadow, or if he's punching, he's always punching like this. And the rumor is he did that so that he could imagine his character as he originally intended.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and he never got around to telling an origin story for him, so it's never confirmed whether or not he is, in fact, a Chinese American. And that's what Sonny and I are doing in that book.
Sonny Luke.
Sonny Luke,
yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And who's Malaysian born?
Yeah, he's Malaysian born, but he's based out of Singapore. He's amazing. Look at that. Sonny Luke is amazing. Wow. You guys, if you haven't read any Sonny Luke comics, you really ought to. My favorite is this one called Malinky Robot. Have you read Malinky Robot yet?
I haven't read it, but I've seen it. It looks great.
Okay, I will buy it.
Awesome.
It's really yeah.
Simply an objective third person telling the story, but you are embodying almost a culture's story.
Sure. I think religion and stories have all sorts of different functions, but one of the functions is that is like the story embodies the culture in a way that extends beyond the individual, right? It's sort of like it's almost like a collective consciousness. Not quite. I think collective consciousness is a little weird, but it's going in that direction. Right?
But so you would be one of those writers who feels that stories are told through you to some extent. Do you think?
I think there's an element of that. I definitely think there's an element of that. I mean, and where the subconscious ends and the something else begins, I don't know if I'm wise enough to speak to that. But there definitely is something. I mean, I'm sure anybody who's worked on story has felt this, right? You can't figure it out, and then you go and you do something else. You go to sleep, you take a nap, you go read a book, you eat a meal, you cook or you do dishes, and then suddenly it comes to you, and it was unearned. It was not something that you had done anything to deserve, right? And it was just given to you. The story solution was just given to you.
Do you value the idea that some stories, that the best stories leave an element of mystery or an element of sort of unresolved, that there are some questions left hanging, that there are some things that can't necessarily be put all in their place?
I think so. I have to say, so within the Bible, my favorite book is the Gospel of Mark. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's the gospel. It's the first gospel within the New Testament, and it has two endings. It has the original ending, which ends in this really ambiguous way. These women go to the tomb, they find it empty, and they're just kind of sad, and they walk away kind of sad and fearful. That's it. And then there's this chapter that they added, which I think completely ruins it. Right? Chapter 16 of Mark, I just think completely ruins it, where they give the resolution. And I feel like when they ended it early, it invites you into the story. It invites you to maybe even look for the ending of the story in your own life. You know, I think that's the best uncertain stories are like that. They invite you to look for the ending in your own life, outside of the pages of the story itself.
But you think that like a test audience didn't like the first ending?
It's like a totally different voice. Like, what were they? It makes me mad. I think it makes me mad.
The other Gospels are
yeah, the other Gospels
have slightly at variance.
Have happier endings.
Yeah.
But that's why I like that one the best. Is because of the ambiguous original of contradictions. Toph is that. Toph is this blind, frail little girl, but she's also like the world's greatest earthbender. And I think Aang is the same way. Aang embodies contradictions. he really, like, by nature, he really just wants to be a free spirit. He wants to be like hippie, right? Like a 1800s Asian hippie. But then he also feels a deep guilt and responsibility that's haunted him, throughout his time in the United States and after.
So we have this tremendously complex, nuanced, beautiful series, which has strong roots in different traditions, different Asian traditions.
That's right.
It's each of the fighting styles. Everything has been thought through, and then we have the problem of the casting.
Sure.
The movie, which you had, I thought, an eloquent, but also a very, again, I wouldn't say we're overly combative. We're seeing some images from a little comic that you did. I thought you and Derek as well, I think, was involved.
For the movie, and they basically gave all the major characters in the last Airbender movie to white actors, and then all of the background was filled in by people of color. So eventually they released these photos that just look ridiculous. It'd be like two white main characters and their family. Within the book it's supposed to be their biological family. It's just all brown people in the background. What are you doing? So I was gonna do a comic that was much more hardcore. Much more like I'm gonna punch you in the face. And then a personal friend went through this really horrific tragedy, and I thought, I'm getting so mad about this movie. This feels ridiculous, So that was part of what triggered me to calm down.
But it struck me that just the notion of, I don't know, there was a civility, there was a persuasiveness to it, and there was a kind of loving hope of people seeing reason. I think some would have seen it as an affront, which it was. Some would have seen it primarily as a kind of a cultural assault. I got the feeling from you that you saw it primarily as a squandered opportunity.
Yeah, I think they made a mistake. I feel like it's really a mistake, and I don't think I could ascribe any sort of racism to the decision. I think maybe it was just largely driven by money, And I think money often clouds. It just clouds our judgment on all sorts of things.
Yeah, so the market.
Sure. Right? Yeah.
There's racism.
Yeah.
Out of time, but seriously, shameless plug. 5 o'clock. That's coming right up in 7AB, way on the other end. But in 7AB, where I'm going to be having.
I'm actually based in Indonesia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I came here for Comic Con and and Mexican food.
Yeah. It's fun.
Oh, exactly.
Working in Taiwan, and my mom and me live here.
Okay.
So they met here.
So you speak Minang Bangkok?
No, I only speak Mandarin because that was their common dialect. Yeah, my dad also speaks Taiwanese. My mom also speaks
I'm actually the only
Vietnamese.
person who speaks Chinese.
Oh, really?
Actually, my
Okay,
dad-
because you learned it in school.